The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of ParaX, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
It's coming.
All these voices. All these voices.
They're not yours. You had no right to them when you were alive, and you have no right to them when you're dead.
That's what it sounded like.
Good, you know who I am. And you know I'm not playing. You're going to let those women go. In Jesus' name, you're going to let those women go.
Is there a demon here watching us right now? I'm just watching this right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody's night? Misfit chick ladies, monster lovers, demon hunters. What's up?
Tonight's episode is going to be an interesting one. On tonight's episode, we're going to be dealing with a conspiracy theory. And it's not just any old conspiracy theory. This is a doozy. This is a fun one. Here's the theory. The conspiracy theory is WEF, the World Economic Forum, is trying to force people, or is going to force people, to eat bugs. They're going to outlaw meat, beef, chicken, all that, pork, and they're going to force people to instead eat bugs. So that's the theory. Now there's more parts to it. Another part of that theory is that the reason they're going to do this is for climate change, and they're trying to save the planet. There's other theories that they want depopulation of the planet down to a very, very small number. Down to like 800,000 people, I believe the number was. And that's why they want depopulation, because it's a more manageable amount of people. They say that the Earth can't support that many people. The resources aren't there to support that many people, etc., etc. There's a lot of different moving parts to this one, and it changes depending on where you're hearing the theory. But the basic of it is that the World Economic Forum is going to be trying to force us to eat insects. Okay? So I started this off. I mean, I know a lot about this subject anyway. Okay? I'll say that in the beginning. So I'll be giving you a lot of information and facts on this. But I started this off the way you should start off pretty much every conspiracy theory you're trying to look up. And that's with a simple search. Just go to the search engine of your choice and ask the question and see what pops up. And just kind of start following the different trails down the rabbit holes and see what you end up with. That's what I did. So here are the results of that. Here's an article from Time magazine called How Humans Eating Insects Could Help Save the Planet. Here's one by Outrider. The headline is, Would You Eat Bugs to Save the Planet? There is a TED Talk here. Emma Bryce, Should We Eat Bugs? And I saved this one for last. There's literally dozens and dozens and dozens of these articles, but if you remember in the beginning, the conspiracy theory was that the World Economic Forum is trying to force people to eat bugs. Well, here is an article from the World Economic Forum, and the headline is 5 Reasons Why Eating Insects Can Reduce Climate Change. Okay, so as you see, there's a lot of different examples of the World Economic Forum itself and all of the other movers and shakers in the information world, let's say, trying to push people towards eating insects. I mean, you've got the World Economic Forum in their own article saying, here's the top 5 reasons that you should be doing this to save the planet from climate change, okay? So right there, we have something from the World Economic Forum that they wrote that is trying to guilt people and convince people to give up meat and eat insects. That's one part of the theory. And they are claiming that the reason you should do this is because of climate change. So that is another part of the theory that is 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt proven that this is what they're doing by themselves. Okay, they wrote it themselves and put it on the internet. So you can see that it's true. That's what they're doing. Now, are they trying to force people to eat bugs? The answer to that is no, not yet. It never starts with force. Okay, the way these things work is it's always suggestion at first. They suggest you do this. They try to give you reasons why you should do this thing that they want you to do. They try to convince you to do this. Okay? The propaganda comes first. That's where they're trying to convince you to do it. They'll have celebrities doing it, influencers doing it. They'll have people that you look up to or idolize doing the thing that they want you to do, to try to make it look like, hey, this is the cool thing to do. This is what all the cool kids are doing. So you ought to be doing it too. Okay? That's the first step in this process. That's where we are now. The next step in the process is shaming. Okay? So they try to use propaganda on you. They try to get you to go along with whatever it is that they want you to go along with. If you do not, then they start shaming you. You're not a good person because you don't want to save the planet. You're not a good person because you're not doing this thing that we said that good people do. Okay? So that's the second step, shaming. You saw that with the jab, the Fauci ouchie. Okay? When they tried to get everybody to take that jab, a lot of people caved and gave in and did it. Even though there was no proof it was safe, even though there was no proof that it even worked. Okay, if you actually looked at the data, there was really no evidence that this would do anything. It's just them saying it. But there was no proof. There hadn't been enough studies done. There hadn't been enough clinical trials done to give us a definitive answer on whether this thing even worked or what it would actually do to your body. A lot of people caved anyway, and they just did what they were told. Some because they trusted the quote-unquote experts. Some because they trusted the government. Some because they'd lose their job if they didn't. Okay? A lot of reasons why people did what they did. Some of us didn't. Some of us said, screw you, we're not doing it. Because you can't prove to me that it's safe, and I'm not doing it. There's a lot of people like that. I was one of them. I never did do it. I never did. Okay? So once you had people that didn't do it, people that said, you know what, screw you, I'm not doing that. Just because you tell me to do it, I'm not doing it. You know, you got people out there like that you got to prove to them that what you're saying is true before they'll just let you jab them with something like that, okay? So once we didn't do it, then they started to shame us. They started saying, you're not a good person. You don't care about everybody else. That, you know, you're bad somehow. You saw it with the masks as well. They did the exact same thing. If you weren't willing to put a mask on that did not work, and all it did was trap the bacteria that you're breathing out all day long, and then you're rebreathing that bacteria in, and that leads to bacterial pneumonia. That leads to all kinds of infections. We know that to be true because we saw that in the Spanish influenza epidemic of 1910. They all put them stupid things on. Now, granted, they were cloth. They weren't made like the ones are made today, but it's the same exact thing. There was no difference as far as what it did. And you saw a massive amount of bacterial pneumonia infections with those people. And it was because of the diaper they were wearing on their face. Okay? Same thing here. They did the exact same thing. They shamed us if we wouldn't wear it. I didn't wear it because I know it doesn't work. Okay, the weave pattern on that thing is 60 microns. That means that if you put it underneath a microscope and you blow it up and magnify it, this is the weave pattern. You see how you can see my face in between it? That's because there's holes, big old holes in that weave pattern. 60 microns worth, okay, in between. The size of what they were trying to stop was 1 micron. So you tell me if you got something that size 1 micron that goes into something with a weave pattern of 60 microns, what's going to happen? It's going to go through it like it's not even there. And that's exactly what happened. But they shamed the hell out of us because we didn't go along with their narrative, because we didn't do what they told us to do. That's the second step, shame. The third step is penalty. If you do not do what we tell you to do, there's going to be a penalty. There's going to be consequences. You are going to have to pay a fine. You are going to lose your job. You are not going to be allowed to go buy groceries in this store if you don't do what we tell you to do. Okay, they did that too. There was places I couldn't go in because I refused to wear the mask. There was people that lost their job because they didn't get the jab. Couldn't even support their family anymore because they refused to get the jab. Okay, so you had propaganda, then you had shame, then you had penalty. First 3 steps. Step number 4 is mandate. Okay, now it's not just that we recommend you do it, and if you don't, you're going to lose your job. Or if you don't, you can't shop here. Now it is, you must. You are mandated to do it. You have to do it. If you don't, you can be charged. And we're going to throw your ass in jail. Okay, that's the next step. It didn't get that far with the examples I've used so far. But that's the next step in this process, is they mandate it, so you have to do it. And if you don't, they lock you up. Okay, now while they do that, they're going to eliminate every other option. That's the next step. So in this case, we're talking about eating bugs. Right now, they're doing propaganda. They are trying to convince you it's a good idea to eat bugs. That it's good for the planet. That it's good because we're overpopulated. That it's even a healthier choice. Okay, they're going to use all of that. That's how they're going to try to get you to eat bugs. They've even had celebrities doing it. There's been a lot of celebrities that I've seen within the last couple of years that have went on and did interviews talking about, oh, I tried a cricket, I ate a cricket, I tried a mealworm, all this stuff, and it wasn't that bad, and I liked it. Okay, they do that too. That is the propaganda phase. They're starting now to enter into the shame phase, where if you don't do it, well, you must not care about the planet. Okay, this phase started when they started making all the fake meat. Okay, and I'm not talking about like veggie burgers. Okay, I'm not talking about that. That's different. That's something for people who are vegetarians who choose not to eat meat, who can still have something that kind of resembles meat. Okay, that's a whole different thing. That is made from soy protein isolate, and it is similar to meat. It has a lot of protein, but the problem with those kind of fake meats that are made of soy is it's not the whole bean. It's not actually the whole soybean. It is the protein that's extracted from the soybean and concentrated. Okay? That's what they're using for it. There aren't enough studies on the soy protein isolate to tell you whether it's actually safe or not to ingest. It should be, because you're eating a whole soybean, you're getting the soy protein. Okay, but there's a different process when they extract it and use it. So they're not 100% sure that that's 100% safe. Not saying it's not. Don't get me wrong. There's no studies saying that it is bad for you. But there's also not enough studies saying that it's safe and effective and good. Okay? It just hasn't been out long enough. We don't know. That's not what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about these lab-grown meats. The ones that they're making in labs that aren't soy-based. The fake meat. Okay? That is what I'm talking about here. That's where this phase has started to ramp up a little bit with those fake meat. They're doing it with chicken now, and you can always tell the difference. Because normal chicken looks and feels a certain way when you pull it apart. But the lab-grown chicken does not react the same way when you pull it apart. It is weird. That's the only way I can describe it. If you haven't seen it, go and check out some videos of it. It's kind of creepy to look at. But that's a whole different animal. You know what I mean? Than the actual meat. But they've started making all this stuff, and they're saying, hey, you don't have to eat meat. It's bad for the planet. We're making these in a lab that we don't have to have a bunch of cows running around. We don't have to have a bunch of chickens running around and all this stuff to where they're putting off all this carbon and everything and ruining the planet. We don't have to have that because we can make it in a lab. Look, it's right here. So you should eat this instead. And if you don't, you're a bad person. You don't care about the environment, right? That's where we are right now. But the rest of these phases will come until they get what they want. They're going to keep moving forward because it's their plan to get rid of meat that you can go and buy. Okay, there'll still be meat you can hunt. I mean, they're not going to kill off all the animals. So there'll still be animals out there, but factory farming, stuff like that is going to be a thing of the past in the future if they get their way. They don't want us eating that stuff. Their reasoning is kind of dumb, to be honest with you. You can't tell me that a bunch of cows farting is going to end the earth. That's stupid. There was giant herds of millions and millions and millions of buffalo who were bigger than cows. And I'm sure they all fart. So if you had millions and millions and millions of buffaloes everywhere farting up a storm, how's having less cows than we had buffalo who aren't producing as much carbon worse for the planet than it was back then? Back then, you didn't hear nothing about global warming. Back then, it was not an issue at all. What was the difference? Well, there's a couple different differences. One, you didn't have all the factories. You didn't have all the automobiles, all that stuff polluting. That's one difference. But the main difference on the other side of that is you had massive forests and massive grasslands. That's a lot of plant life. Plants breathe carbon. The more carbon dioxide that's in the air, the faster and larger plants will grow. The larger and faster plants grow, the larger and faster everything else grows. Because we, as well as all animals, breathe oxygen, which just happens to be what plants exhale when they breathe in carbon dioxide. It's a beautiful little system that God developed. So excess carbon in the atmosphere is not an issue if you have plants to breathe the carbon dioxide, and they will create more oxygen. With higher oxygen levels in our atmosphere, everything grows bigger. All mammal life, reptile life, all that grows bigger. That's what happened basically with the dinosaurs. That's why everything was so big back then. Because there was much more oxygen in the atmosphere back then than there is now. That's the difference. So we can grow our way out of any kind of negative effects that any kind of carbon would have on our atmosphere at all. Okay? And I'm not entirely convinced at all that global warming is such a big deal anyway. Everybody talks about climate change, and oh my God, the world's going to end. The seas are going to rise. They're going to flood half the country. All this nonsense they say. Answer this for me then. If that's true, And that's going to happen within like a decade. Okay, the numbers keep changing. It was supposed to have already happened, according to Al Gore. According to Al Gore, we were all supposed to already be underwater. Didn't happen. Hasn't happened at all, right? But let's say that they're saying now like another decade and we're screwed. Another decade and the water will be partway into the country and all this crazy stuff, right? If that's true, why are all these people, the very ones who are telling you this, why are they buying mansions on the beach? Why are they buying mansions on the beach in Martha's Vineyard? Why are they buying mansions and a lot of land on an island in Hawaii? Why are they doing that? If what they're saying is true, and the science is saying this, like they claim it does it make any sense for them to spend multi-millions, I'm talking 10, 20, 30 million dollars, to buy a mansion on the beach that's going to be destroyed in less than a decade because all the seawater is going to rise? Does it make any sense? No, it doesn't. If they really believed that it was going to be a catastrophe that destroyed a lot of life on Earth, like they claim, would they all be flying around in private jets to give speeches all over the place? You know how much carbon jet fuel puts off? Would they be doing that if it was really such a big deal? Nah. No, they wouldn't. If they thought that the world was going to end, their children were going to die, they would stop that behavior that's causing it. But they don't. Notice they're all driving around in big gasoline limos with multiple cars, all of them powered by gas. They're flying around in private jets. Those jets ain't electric. They're buying mansions, multi-million-dollar mansions on the beach, in spots that are supposed to be underwater. Already, according to Al Gore, but they're supposed to be underwater definitely within the next decade, according to them now. But yet they're spending more money than you'll ever see in your life to buy a mansion that, if their projections are right, could be underwater in 5 years. Does that make any sense? Or are they full of crap? Sounds to me like they're full of crap. So why would they lie to you about it? It's simple. It's about control. It's what it's always about. That's what it has always been about since the beginning of time. Control. Damn near everything that you've ever learned has been a lie. They have lied to us for generation after generation, to turn us against each other, to get us fighting each other. Whites versus blacks. Gays versus straights. Men versus women. It's all a lie, man. It's all a lie. They do this stuff to manipulate you, to turn you against each other, to get you fighting each other, so that you're not fighting them, so that you're not paying attention to the fact that they're robbing you blind, so you're not paying attention to the fact that you worked your ass off your whole life just to put some money in the bank to retire, and you did good. You've got several $100,000 in the bank. That's amazing. Back when you saved that money, that was a lot of money. Now not so much. For every dollar you put in back then, that dollar is no longer worth a dollar worth of buying power. Now that dollar worth of buying power is probably about a quarter, if that. Which means if you saved $400,000, right? Where does that number come from? That's familiar, isn't it? Oh, 401k. You know, your entire life of work that you've been scrimping and saving to contribute to, so that maybe you might have $400,000 in the bank to retire on? Well, guess what? If it's only worth a quarter now, then that means that $400,000 that you saved to retire on is now not worth $400,000 anymore. The buying power of that money is only around $100,000 now. That sucks, doesn't it? Every dollar you saved your whole life is not worth a dollar anymore. Because of inflation, because of devaluation of the currency, because of printing way too much money. It's a simple concept. Supply and demand. If you inflate the money supply, the value of each individual dollar is going to go way down. Because the more there are of something, the less it's worth. The less there is of something, the more it's worth. Econ 101, baby. This is entry-level stuff. This is not complicated. So what happens when you do quantitative easing? What happens when you continually print money and it's not backed up by anything? Because we're not on the gold standard anymore. We haven't been since I was a little kid. We're on a credit-based system. Our dollars aren't propped up by anything. So what happens if you keep printing? Each dollar's not worth as much. And then you keep borrowing. We're 30-some trillion dollars in debt. Do you have any idea what a ludicrous number that is? That is so big. Your grandchildren's children aren't going to be able to pay that off. That's insanity. We have been burdening future generations with debt they can't possibly hope to pay off. And we don't stop. We just keep doing it every year. We keep borrowing more and more and more. To keep paying for stupid stuff. Over and over and over again. Now, any sane, rational person would look at this and say, oh my God, what the hell are we doing? Who's doing this? It's them people, the ones in charge. Go get them. Stop them. But we don't. Now, why don't we? Because we're too busy fighting back and forth with each other and hating each other instead of paying attention to what them dirty bastards are doing. That's the plan. So, climate change, just about control and manipulation. To get you to do what they want you to do. Okay? So, let's get to the point. Are they forcing people? No, not yet. They are in the propaganda stage. The suggestive stage. They are in the stage where they're starting to shame you if you don't go along with what they say. But we're not yet at the point of force. But we will get there. It's tried and true. It happens every time. It'll come. Not here yet. Okay? Now, with all of that being said, eating bugs is not that big a deal. Okay, now I know a lot of you are probably freaking out. A lot of you are probably saying, what are you talking about, dude? You're nuts. I don't want to eat no damn bug. That's disgusting. I get you, man. I hear you. I'm a survival guy. Okay, I live in the mountains. I have spent most of my life in forest, woods, mountains, swamp. Okay? That's what I love. That's where I go to have fun. That's where I go to just hang out. I have spent weeks at a time in shelters I've built myself, out in the wilderness, surviving off the land. I have eaten ants. I have eaten grasshoppers. I have eaten grubs. I have eaten worms. I have eaten spiders. I have eaten crickets. I have eaten scorpions. Okay, there's a lot of animals that I have eaten. There's a lot of insects that I have eaten. Not that big a deal. Okay, bugs are healthy. They contain a hell of a lot of protein. They are really good for you. And the great thing about them, as far as just feeding people, right, providing people with their protein needs, the great thing about them is you can grow a hell of a lot of them in a little bit of space. Okay, you take your normal size apartment. Hell, let's not even say a normal size apartment. You take a house in the suburbs, just the garage of that house in the suburbs, you could stack floor to almost ceiling crates in there. You could fit tens of millions of insects in those crates. You could feed a lot of people. You could feed your whole town out of one garage worth of growing. Now you compare that with tons and tons of land that needs grazing land and stuff like that for cows, for sheep, big old gigantic barns for the chickens. That takes up a lot of room. Then you got to grow all the stuff that they eat. That takes up a lot of room too. Okay? Just if you're talking about the population of the world getting way, way larger, you're going to need to figure out how to feed all those people. And you're not going to be able to do it with conventional means. Okay? Not saying you got to eat bugs. I don't care if you eat bugs or not. That's on you. What I'm saying is not so bad. It's not the end of the world. They're not going to hurt you. They're actually really good for you. Now, a lot of people don't want to eat bugs because when they think about that, they say, oh, that's gross. They're all slimy inside and gooky, and I don't want to eat them. They're nasty. But they don't have to be. Okay? When I eat bugs, I eat them in the wild. So like take a grasshopper, for example, because they're everywhere and they're easy to catch. You catch a grasshopper, you hold on to its back legs and its butt like this. You take this hand, let me get on the camera. You take this hand, you grab its little head, and you pull. When you pull the head, all the gooky gook comes out with the head. And what you're left with is the back legs and the butt and torso of that animal. You take that, you put it on a stick. You push it down. You keep doing that till you fill your stick. Then you just kind of hold that over the fire for a while and make sure it cooks real good. Now you want to cook insects well because they're going to have all kinds of little nasty no-see-ums in there and parasites and stuff that's going to mess you up if you don't. So you want to make sure you cook them nice and crispy. But if you take a grasshopper and you cook that sucker crispy up like that and you pop it in your mouth, it tastes like a Rice Krispie treat. That's what it tastes like. Well, not a Rice Krispie treat, but a Rice Krispie. There's really not much taste to it. And it's not bad. But that's not how we're going to be eating bugs. Okay? What they're doing now is they're taking these insects from clean farms. That's essentially just a bunch of crates stacked up. And it's got like some paper in there or some wood shavings or something like that in there for like bedding for the animals, and then the bugs. They're going to take that, they're going to dry the bugs out. Okay, they're going to kill them, they're going to dehydrate them, they're going to powder them. So what you're going to have is powdered bug. They take that powder and they make it into a flour. Okay, they do it with crickets, they do it with all kinds of different bugs. That flour they can use to make bread, muffins, cookies, cakes, all kinds of yummy, yummy things. Okay, they use sugar in with it. They use everything they would use to make those other things, except for the flour source is insect. This gives you a great deal of protein. The taste of the cookies and the cakes and the brownies and all that stuff is no different than what you're eating now. So you're not going to be holding a nasty bug in your hand, popping it in your mouth and eating it. It's going to be, let me have this chocolate chip muffin. That's frickin' delicious. Oh, it's made out of bug powder? Who gives a shit? It tastes amazing. Right? That's what the reality of it's going to be. It's going to be bug protein powder used as flour in recipes we already eat and we're already familiar with. So it's not going to be that big of a difference for you when you are eating them. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that I support them forcing you to eat bugs. I think it ought to be an option. I think they ought to definitely do that. They ought to put those products on the market and let people buy them if they want. And there's already those products on the market now, and you can buy them if you want. I think that's a great thing. I'm totally in favor of more food for everybody. The more food you have, the cheaper the prices. It's going to be great for everybody. A lot of the world eats them now. I grew up in Europe. I grew up all over the world. And I've been to a lot of places that eat bugs. And to those people, it's absolutely normal. You walk down the street and like a carnival or a fair or just vendors on the street, and you can buy tarantulas on a stick. You can buy teriyaki crickets. You can buy all this stuff, and it's delicious. I've eaten a lot of it. It's very, very yummy. There's literally no buggy, gross taste. It's absolutely normal for those people. They've been eating like that for generations. No big deal. Okay? That being said, not saying you have to eat bugs. Not saying I would want it ever forced on anybody. But if it's something that we have to do to survive because of overpopulation, if that happens, and it's something that we have to do, it's not going to be that bad, so don't stress out. I know the idea of eating bugs is gross. Not that big a deal. I hope this has been informative for you. I hope that you enjoyed it. I'm going to throw over to Old Boy. Now, whenever we do one of these kind of conspiracy shows or science-y kind of shows, it's always interesting to hear what Old Boy has to say, because Old Boy is not a science-y person. And he doesn't have a whole lot of patience for conspiracy theories. So this ought to be interesting and fun to listen to. So, Old Boy, go ahead, brother.
And so this is going to be an interesting one. I'm going to do a little bit about this. This stuff, it's more of the science, conspiracy theories, and New World Order and government stuff. So it's going to be cool. You guys are going to enjoy it. I hope you guys will. We're doing this about insects and making them a food source other than chickens, turkey, seafood. You know, fruit, they're still talking about fruit and vegetables as a source, but more of insects replacing animals and wheat and stuff like that, because the gas, gas effects, the grass gas effects and stuff like that. Eating, I think insects was 45 to 50% better for the climate, is what I was reading. There's a conspiracy theory they're going to try to make us replace with insects or something different than what we're eating now, because they do want us to quit eating cows eventually, especially in this country. But the problem is, and this is what I'm going to tell people, it's not going to work, especially in other countries who don't agree with our opinions, and they're not going to do it. Like, it may happen here, you never know. I'm not going to say it won't happen in America. We know how it goes here, in Europe and stuff like that, Canada, but I just don't think it's going to I'm going to tell you, people are not going to do it. It'll be a trend, but it won't go anywhere. People are just not going to care. Because I know I was reading this, they're claiming by 2050 we're going to have 10 billion people. The problem is we actually lost people for the first time. We're actually under what we were supposed to. China lost a lot of people because of COVID, and, they're only having so many kids, and maybe with, India, I think we got 7.9 billion. So you're going to say you're going to get 2.1 billion in the next 26 years, 25 and a half. Maybe a billion. I will say that. It could be 9 billion. And they're saying our food resources are going to get drained by 2050. And I don't know about that, man. I think this is more, I know there's stuff going on with global warming. I have my opinions. There's always political stuff, and it's exaggerated. The weather is changing. We have a lot more people than we should. But there's an argument with like Elon Musk that we could live in the sea, and that would solve a lot of their problems. So we could build stuff in the ocean and go to Mars like he wants to and live in other planets. That could happen one day if we actually quit killing each other over dumb stuff and worrying about people who are idiots and making people off of TikTok and do dumb shit, and they get famous when they're just idiots. We're making idiots rich and famous while we should be doing other things. And that's fine and dandy. If you like that, that's cool. I don't hate on anybody, I have my opinions on that, You got to make your money. You got to make your money. I think it's got out of control, especially with social media, because people don't even know what the fuck. A lot of people are so ignorant. Like, they tell me something they've read, and then I said, go look it up, and it's wrong. It's misinformation is really fucking up this world altogether. I don't care what political side you're on, religious side, whatever side you're on. I'm telling you, most of this shit is bullshit. I'm saying about 90% of it. There's always truth to everything, but it's getting exaggerated now, guys. It's like the phone effect. Something gets said and it gets exaggerated. Or even if it's proven a lie, people still believe it. Because they once your mind's made up, it's almost impossible to change somebody's mind. And that's true. I will agree with that. That's something that I don't think anybody can do. We can't change what people are going to think. I think you can to a point, or you can force it on them, and that happens, guys. You're going to get forced. Are we going to get forced to eat these insects? There's a chance. You guys seen the Snow Pincer movie? Pincer? I'm probably messing up. I know there's a movie and it had Chris Evans in it. I think it's the guy from Old Boy, or maybe I don't remember. But I know it's the guy from Chris Evans from Captain America's in it. And they had a TV show too. I think there's like 2 or 3 seasons going. But it's where they're on a train that they put the rest of humanity on there and just kept going for years. And the world went into an ice age. So they're on this train that's huge. There's probably like 50 cars, maybe more. And the rich are in the front and the poor are in the back. And what they do is they were feeding them this bar, and they were saying it's like a vegetable protein bar. And come to find out later on, there's more of a sinister, and I'll tell you what they're really doing. They would take people's kids if they got a certain age, and they would put them up front. I don't want to ruin it if you haven't seen the movie, but there's a reason what they were doing this for. I don't want to get into it, but if you haven't seen the movie, I don't want to get somebody, you're spoiling it for me, or the TV show. I haven't watched the TV show. The movie was great. And they would use these kids for a certain reason. And they were feeding these people insects, because I'll bring that part up. And they were making it into a black bar, and they put added sugar or something in it to make it taste different. And then they found out later when they took over the car, because they rebelled, because they were just killing people just for over dumb stuff that people wouldn't want their kids going. And they were just using these kids for a reason. If you see the movie, you'll understand what I'm saying. And that was what was crazy about it. Like, they got tired of this shit. So they're like, fuck it. They started kicking ass, and they got one of the couple of weapons, and they find out they were out of ammo. After they were trying to there was only a couple bullets left. They found out they were out of ammo, so they went to the end of the train. And if you guys see the movie, you'll understand. But on the distance, they find out that there's actual other people who made it. Who there wasn't the only people. The weather became livable again. The radiation was gone. Because I guess these people were doing this for like hundreds of years on this train. Like a big, fast-ass train that just kept going over. And I guess it was made where it can't ever stop. Like they made it never stop. So I don't know how but the track was still iced. But I think the wheels had burned off the ice. It was just a weird, but there were some things that happened, and you'll understand in the movie what happened. So you guys see the movie and you'll understand what I'm talking about. It's a good movie, guys. The TV show is probably going to be cooler because it's just episodes and stuff like that. So it's going to explain more of the story from the movie. The movie was great, though. If you guys can check it out, please do. It's a good movie. It explains some of this stuff with the insects thing. And that's what they were doing. They were feeding people insects. And I know other countries, they do it. They make like chocolate-covered scorpions and mealworms, lollipops, and all kinds of crap I've been seeing. Ants, chocolate-covered ants. And some people say they taste all right. I'm sorry. I'm not. I know that I was reading something that don't knock it till you try a chocolate-flavored scorpions, because they can go up from ants to mealworms to not flies. I didn't see that. Not cockroaches, crickets, and then scorpions and stuff. I'm like, because they have a lot of protein. They have a lot more protein and a lot of chicken and some of the vegetables and nuts we eat. I'm just not gonna do it. I'm just not for it, man. I mean, if they're trying to do it, I mean, I've been hearing a lot of stuff of this. It isn't from this. I've been hearing this for years. And, you know, there's something I watched back in high school about how how insects were going to take over the world. And this guy really made a documentary, and he was out of his damn mind. Oh, insects. In reality, they already took over the world. There's more insects than anything else. It's just how it is. But most of the animals and birds eat them. And we kill them. Cockroaches they'll probably outlive us. They're already saying that. They can withstand radiation. And a lot of bug sprays. I've seen that happening all the time at work. We have to bomb that place at least once or twice a month. And it still doesn't work. It doesn't kill them all. It just happens. We're making them immortal almost, other than stomping them and killing them like that, but like they won't kill them. I just couldn't do it. Ugh. So I've had one. I tried like ants before, and I'm going to tell you, they tasted weird. It was nothing. I had, I think a moth too once, a chocolate covered moth. It was just not good. It just was weird. Some people like it though. I've seen people eating it with cockroaches with the soy sauce, and they say it's good. I don't see that. No. Mealworms, no. No, hell no. They look like maggots, guys. I'm sorry. That's just, no. I like chicken. I like fish. I like steaks to a point, but I'm getting away from red meat and white meat. But it's hard because pork's so good. I love bacon, guys. Oh, God. But I've cut a lot of diet. Man, like I said, I used to be diabetic. I no longer am. I used to be, you guys remember, I was 290 pounds when you first saw me, guys. And I'm about 230. And I'm getting, I'm not trying to be like weird or anything. If you guys see me, I'm not really fat no more. I'm a bigger guy, I'm not skinny, never will be, but I'm not what I was. If you guys look what I used to look like 5 years ago, actually 4 years ago, and I look like a whole, plus the beard for the last 2 years almost. I think it's going to be 2 years in January. So it's almost 2 years, and I've been keeping it pretty long. I've been trimming it. It was down to here, but we trimmed it up. My wife take care of it. But let's get out of that because I don't want to drag on through something else. I don't think I could do that. And if that's what their plan is, man, that's going to suck. They better find something else. I don't want to eat insects. I guess if it helps people, I guess if it's cheaper, and I guess it is cheaper, because they're still going to have to use big machines, but efficiently it will save up to 40 to 50% less emissions than what they're saying or claiming. And again, that could be a conspiracy theory, or that could be the elite trying to make us bend the knee again. And that could be a possibility, guys. You know how it goes. We don't like to talk too much about this with anything with the governments or anything like that, because you know where that can go. We don't feel like getting censored or getting some weird, crazy story about us saying that we're doing this. And, I've already had people saying I'm a reptilian Satanist that eats children and might have tattoo of Bell on my arm. King Bell. B.O. Sorry. And that's, people actually believe this shit. And that's what's crazy. People believe shit when they don't even know. They just read something and they don't know if it's true or not. And even if it isn't, they'll still go with it. They'll still make it up because there's a lot of jealousy and a lot of hate to people. And I think people it's fine to believe in whatever you're going to believe in. I have no problem with that. Be responsible with your beliefs. Look at what's going on in the world. People, where you're going around killing people over it, I'm sorry. I don't agree with that. And if you believe that, that's fine, but that's you. But that's where I differ with religion. But that's not everyone who's in religion. There's good people in religion beliefs, and I have no problem with them. I try to be cool. Just like when people get mad about holidays, I don't give a fuck if somebody says Merry Christmas to me. But don't get mad when I say something back. That's what irritates me. If you don't want something said back, don't say it first. I don't care what your belief says or whatever you think. Be respectful. If you want me to say Merry Christmas, I'll be cool. Merry Christmas, guys. But if I say something, it's my holiday, don't get like summer, winter solstice. Don't get mad and say that's evil. That's disrespectful, just like you are. You're forcing your beliefs on mine. I'm saying just like Merry Christmas. It doesn't bother me. I don't know why people get offended. Maybe what I think it is some people didn't get to celebrate these holidays, so I think they're pissed off about it. Or they don't get the point of why, people for Christmas. Me and my wife celebrate Christmas. You could think it's crazy for my son, he likes Christmas, so we do it for him. And the family still likes Christmas. It is what it is, but we still, it doesn't bother me. I like Christmas movies. I love Halloween. I can live Halloween, but it doesn't bother me or nothing. But, I don't want to get into that rambling on, but that's what I was saying, dude. Like with the insect things, I couldn't do it. I like steak. I like chicken. I like salads. I'm good. I don't need, instead of bacon bits, I don't need ants. That's just, no, it's not, that's not going to be a good mix, or not for me. And no, just no grasshopper legs or soy sauce with crickets in it. I'm sorry, that just does not sound good to me. Or in spaghetti, just imagine if you could, or beetles or something, because they were talking about beetles, because they have a lot of protein in them. I'm like, no, I'm good. No, can't. Mealworm, same thing. I just can't do it, guys. I've tried it. The scorpion on the popsicle, not popsicle, the lollipop. I've tried. It was like, It was just different. Don't suggest you do it. So that being said, like I said, I don't think I could do it. And I know they're saying there's a lot of benefits like greenhouse effects and emissions and all that, and it would be a lot cleaner, and they could feed the population. It's supposed to get 2 billion more people. It's supposed to be 10 billion people or more. I get what they're trying to do, but I think I have my opinions on it. You're going to have a real problem trying to push some of this stuff on people. It's already becoming an issue. People are set in their ways. Even if we were going to do this or have to do this, most people are not going to do it. Look what happened with the vaccinations. In the world, on 65-70% of the people did it. There were still 33% of the people who didn't give a fuck and did what they wanted. And I'm not saying I was for or against the vaccination. You have your own opinions, but it still weren't able to force everybody to do it. Like 68% of the world, or not even that. I think it was like 65, and there was still 35% of the world. I'm not even talking about the country. I think the country was only like 65 or 64. Still had like 36% of the country didn't do it. You can't force stuff on people. They tried. Trust me, they did a good job of it for a while, but now they're getting sued over it. Things are, you can only force people to do certain things. If you try to force people to eat crickets and ants, I don't think it's going to work like you think. It might for a while. People will try to advocate for it, but it won't last. People will get tired of it. I want my chocolate milk. I want my candy. I want my pizza. I want my pepperoni sticks. I want my steak. I want my lobster. I want my crab. You get where I'm going. Hamburgers, tacos. I don't want a taco with fucking ants in it. Sorry, fuck that. Nope. You can have it. You go and that's how you're going to live. Find something else. I could even deal with bean burgers and veggie stuff, vegetarian stuff, but because the greenhouse, all the chemicals and the greenhouse effects, that's why they're talking about that. But it's true. When you eat chickens, 90% of them, they eat feed, or they're fed insects now. Or they eat insects anyway. Chickens especially. They eat them, and roosters and, cows, they eat them not accidentally, but when they're eating the feed. So the pigs, they eat them. Not like as bad like chickens and turkeys and stuff like that. That's a different thing. And then fish, they eat certain things in the water too. Sometimes insects. Birds eat insects too. And we're eating some of the, not regular birds, but like ducks and chickens and all that. We eat them. Turkeys, we eat them. Pheasants, when you're hunting pheasants, they eat worms and stuff like that. You could, so in reality, we do eat them. Even in some of our peanuts, they get crushed in there. Insects, some of the food we eat, it's a proven fact. They do get into it. Candy, they even said some small pieces of insects or peanuts, if you're allergic to peanuts and stuff like that, you got to watch because they were all like Mars and all that, and the M&M factory, they have chocolate peanuts, they make everything together. And some stuff drops into stuff, and especially insects. Rat droppings, and probably dead ants, rats fall in. All this stuff is proven. It happens. It's disgusting, but hey, it's what we're doing. It's the truth on that part. I see that part. I get that part. That's one of the points they were talking about in the articles we were reading earlier. And that makes some sense. Some of the candies, some of the fruit you eat, worms get into it. Sometimes you bite it, there might be a worm in there. You never know. You never knew you ate it either. You never know. There's parasites we eat all the time. I mean, I'm not saying you should, especially a pork. You got to be very careful because they have a lot of parasitic things on them. Cows, everybody. You got to be careful what you eat all together, especially with vegetables. Salmonella, people picking it. They don't wash. So they get certain bacteria on it. It can happen. It's true. People get sick. especially from that, especially what's romaine lettuce. A lot of people said we gotta be careful of that because it's not always clean when we eat it. They spray stuff on it. People don't, not everybody's a clean person, especially in anywhere you cook. Especially people do. You never can trust anybody. People do crazy stuff. Look what they see on fucking showing people peeing and doing weird shit in their food, spitting in it. You never know what anybody's capable of doing or what they're doing. So remember that. But I guess people, like I said, they rather believe a beautiful lie than know the evil truth. And that's what happens. I know I'm going to leave more of this for James. This is more James' thing. The conspiracy sci-fi. It is kind of a sci-fi, guys. We all got stuck eating insects. Kind of weird. Sorry. But I guess if you eat like crab and shrimp, they kind of are the insects of the sea. That's what they say. Like, they're like cockroaches and crabs are like, beetles. Not beetles. What do they say? There's something else, but I know the lobster, they consider those like cockroaches, like shrimp. And I love them. I don't care, man. They're bomb. If that's how, if they can make it where insects taste like that, well, fuck, I probably would eat it. That would be fucking great. I love lobster, guys. That's one of my favorite foods. Lobster, crab, scallop, shrimp. Those are my favorite foods. I love them. I could swim in butter. I don't know why I love seafood so much. I love fucking seafood, except certain fish. Majority of fish I don't like. I don't know why, I just don't like it. Tuna's good. Salmon if it's made right, but I don't really care for it. Shark, I didn't really care for it. Halibut, it's alright. Certain fish, breaded fish, I love breaded, but it's not even real fish. It's fish, but But I hate catfish. I hate fucking rainbow trout. I didn't like trout. I never liked fishing anyway. It just was boring to me. But some people love it, man. That's how you get frustrations out. I was never a big hunter. I'm a gun hunter. I'm not a big hunter of animals. I have my opinions on it. I get it now. There is places. People got to realize there's overpopulations. You have to do it. But other than that, putting a trophy on my wall, and some people were born that way. I'm not doubting you and putting you down. I just don't, nothing for me. I don't care one way or another. But I get it. You can't put a cockroach on your wall. It's too small. So it's just a little bit of joke, kind of stupid, but it was kind of funny if you guys listen to the show. But that being said, leave your messages, what you guys think. Do you think this is going to happen? Do you believe this? Do you agree with it? Do you think that would save hunger from people dying and starving? Or do you think it's just another bullshit conspiracy theory? Or is it really something mischievous going on? Mischievous. There's more of a bad meaning to it. Just fix the word. You know how I am, guys. That's what I think. There's probably some truth to this. Maybe being exaggerated, but there's something in the works coming. You watch. Movies tell a story sometimes of what's coming in the future. Remember that, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. It was something different. Conspiracy theories, whatever you want to think, government stuff. It's always good to do these kind of shows. Tell me what you guys think. Always put stuff in the comments. You guys have a good night. Misfits, sugar ladies, monster lovers, demon hunters. I love you, and blessed motherfucking be.
Thank you, brother. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope that you learned something. Let me know down in the comments section when this hits YouTube what you think. You want to eat some bugs? Or are you like old boy and say, oh, hell no, I ain't eating no bugs? Up to you guys. As always, it's up to you to make up your own mind. Let me know. I want to see. I want to know. I want to hear. Let me find out. I want to know what's up, man. As always, it's your choice. And this is so important. Don't ever, ever let anybody take your choice away from you. You have freedom. You are created in the image of God. God gave you free will. God gave you freedom. Don't ever let any government take it away from you. Don't ever let any man take it away from you. Stay free. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. And we'll catch you on the next one. Till we speak to you again. Love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.